Only God knows I love you. I don't even know you. Only God but knows. I know you. And I love you. First.
God has given me the opportunity to go to Africa, which we hadn't talked about that yet. And so I'm trying to use that as an opportunity for my own self-growth and self-maturity to get me to where I really need to be.
Well, let's get into that then, because, well, first of all, I got a lot of fans in Nigeria. I want to say outside the United States, that's my #1 country. So shout out to all the real ones over there. I love y'all. I keep telling y'all I can't wait to visit. I keep telling my wife and children, my mama, if something doesn't shake with this white supremacist system over here, then hey, Nigeria, get ready to see your boy Ferlet over there. But
you stop when you get there.
Well, they showing so much love that part of the reason I started marketing them is because I was like, I know black people, so let me go online and try to find what countries are English speaking black countries, and that might have enough wealth that I can assume that they got cell phones and all that kind of stuff, And my brothers and sisters over there in Nigeria, they go hard for me. Ghana, South Africa, like the love has been overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? So I can't wait. I literally cannot wait.
You have an open invitation. You just get there and you are fine. And I would love to be able to showcase you to my students. Nigerians love entertainment. They love celebrating. Right. Anything that they feel like is a celebration, Nigerians are there. And it's hard. I must make sure I say Nigerians and not Africans, because that's the part that gets people. Sometimes I get somebody saying, "Oh, it's a flood. How are things over there in your area?" I said, "What's going on?" Somebody was asking me just the other day. "Oh man, I see all that fighting going on in Ethiopia. How's that doing?" I said, "What fighting in Ethiopia?" I had no idea that it was going on, because this idea that because I'm in Africa, I know everything I said, no, I just know Nigeria. And honestly, I even go as far as say I know Abuja, because Nigeria, the country itself, I haven't been all over the country. It is it's the most populated country in Africa. And so even when people ask me about Nigeria, I can tell you about Abuja, and I can tell you about Lagos. Cardi B put Lagos on the map. I said, but there are so many parts of Nigeria that I haven't gone to that I can't tell you how they are. Now, my people that I work for and people in my community and the teachers at my school are from all over the country, because one thing about Abuja, it attracts people because it's the capital. It attracts people from all parts of Nigeria to come there to work. So I get to interact with people from all over the country, all the different cultural groups. There are 3 main cultural groups in Nigeria. And so that was the main thing about Nigeria and about being in Africa. Now, I do know this part. African countries have people you may see all black people walking down the street, but I can promise you, if you see 60 of them, there are 20 different languages going on at the time. Maybe at least 5 different cultural groups that may be within that group of people. And so that's the part about understanding culture that has really helped me grow here in the United States, that being in Nigeria, I can be sitting in a room with a whole room full of Nigerians. And honestly, there could be 15, 20 different languages being spoken in the audience, multiple ethnic groups, multiple ways of doing celebrations, the way that they celebrate a wedding, the way that they celebrate the birth of a child. All of it deals with the different cultural groups that are there. And so that part has really helped me here with understanding the people that I interact with in the United States, understanding that just because we're the same race doesn't mean we share the same culture. And so knowing that when you go to Nigeria, so I'm sure that when you interact with the Nigerians in your fan club, you can see that sometimes, the language of them may be different. The way they respond and interact with you may be different. But one thing about them collectively is that they love celebrations. They like to celebrate. They have the Christian and Islamic religion there. It, drives a lot of the understanding about life. And, it's just amazing to me. And I tell people, all these people on these mission trips trying to come to Africa and save people and turn. I said, they good. They got their parts. Sundays in Nigeria, the state shuts down. The country shuts down because people are in church. They go to church. They are praying people.
Oh, yeah.
I said, if y'all call Jesus' name one more time,
Like, see, my hit records so far this year have been "Mama Sick,"
Hmm.
and that song. No matter where you are in the world, unless you pass away or something before your mother, you gonna deal with your mama being sick.
Hmm.
So they love that. I got a song about suicide. Only God knows. A lot of folks, what I'm saying, dealing with that. That's a universal thing. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what they do. They turn to their religion. They're sharing it. They're praying for
Hmm.
people with using my record to try to inspire people. Another record about relationships called "I Meant That." Like, so,
Hmm.
music is a universal thing if you do it right. It appeals to you just human emotions no matter where you are. And I appreciate all y'all over there that's rolling with me on
So I
that.
have to make sure that I let them capitalize on that when I go back, so that when you come, I can say I have Adam Wells here in my school. Come on over first. He's here. But the death, poverty plays a big part in a lot of the death that takes place in Nigeria. The health, disparities there, and so in losing anyone, a funeral ceremony in Nigeria is a huge deal. I mean, I know here in the United States we do the T-shirts and we have the repast, but sometimes in Nigeria, somebody may die and they may not get buried to 3 or 4 months after they die. Oh yeah, it's been months because they come. It's a celebration. And so they have to come
Mm.
up with the money. They have to buy, sometimes the goats and the cows and all those things. So on the day of the funeral, it is truly a big celebration, and they celebrate the person's life. And then even every year for the person's anniversary of the death, it's a celebration. They have a celebration for the anniversary of the death, the person's birthday. So it's never a moment where that person is forgotten. And so those things in Nigeria like super big, and that's just one of the things I've had to adapt to. Somebody dies in January, and I'm like, when is the funeral? It's like literally, I had one of my coworkers, one of the teachers, her son-in-law died, and the COVID started in March. In March, he wasn't buried until July. He wasn't buried until July because one, the family's trying to get there. You have family that live all over the world, not just coming from Chicago down to Mississippi. One son was living in Australia, somebody else was living someplace else. You had a couple of relatives in the United States, so they have to make sure that they're all trying to be there. And so those types of things, getting the money together and getting the burial together. And then he was living in South Africa at the time, so they transporting that body. So those types of things, because it's not just that one day that you're celebrating. They would celebrate for that entire week to make sure
Mm.
that the family, that they pay homage to this person. And it's a major deal. It's a huge thing. And that's a part of, I think, that's transcended to us here in the United States when we celebrate a person's death. The getting of the T-shirt, because the way that I see white people's celebration of a death, the celebration of someone's life or the life that they lived is totally different than ours. Sometimes we have the big repast after the funeral. The family's gonna get together. Family has to travel in from out of state, whereas in some communities, somebody dies on Monday, the funeral is Saturday. No, our funeral is gonna be 2 weeks from today because we gotta wait for family people to come in. So some of those things I see have truly been passed on to us. I see the way that the black men here give each other dap. That's all African. That's all Nigerian. Because when I'm on the streets in Abuja, sometimes I have to remind myself I'm in Africa. I am not in Philadelphia. I'm not on the streets of West Philly or somewhere, because the interaction with the black men and how they respond to each other, how they gist with each other, hear them laughing and joking each other. I'm like, that's a part of our heritage. That's a part of who we are. And so
That's
I'm
dope.
learning those things and just paying attention to the people around me and seeing where does the way that we like to look on Sundays. That's culturally something that's been passed down to us, because the Nigerians like to look. I told people a long time ago, I stopped trying to think I was cute in Nigeria. It doesn't work, because those women and those men come ready every day. Suits right, hair right, makeup right, and that has been something that's been passed down to us in the American culture. So it's there.
That's dope. So what made you want to go over there? Because so many people over here just scared of it. They oh no, I don't want to go over there. So what made you say no? I'm going.
So it started with me just wanting an international teaching experience. And I was really looking at the UAE because I had a friend who had gone to Abu Dhabi and, seeing the pictures from Dubai. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to go here. And so there's a site that's called Teach Away. and you go on Teachaway and you fill out your forms and you submit your work, and it usually takes about a year to get it. But that was a individual posting, like it wasn't something that Teachaway was promoting. My principal, my director had just paid to have this posting on Teachaway's site, and it was in Africa. And I was like, cool, this is Africa, Nigeria. I applied, and he was looking for somebody who had British curriculum background. He was looking for somebody with math and science. So honestly, I didn't think I was going to get the job. I filled out the application. I put in my resume. A couple of weeks later, I get an email saying I'm like, well, what school? I'm Alumabu. What is this? So it really was a surprise because I wasn't trying to come to Africa. The reason I wanted to go to the UAE is because I knew that travel to Africa was not expensive. So I was like, oh, I can get in the UAE, then I can, buy my plane tickets to go to Africa. I was not thinking about being in Africa. So I literally turned down the job at first. Like, I don't want it. And my boss, I turned it down. I said, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. But, because I was like, I didn't really think I was going to get the job. Mm-hmm. And I responded like, she keep wanting to interview me. And I said, well, no, that's okay. And he responded back. He was like, and that was a shock to me because I've declined job opportunities or opportunities for interviews before. He was like, I thought you were the one who was ready to come to the motherland. And that's when we started communicating. And so I sent him a presentation. I did some stuff, showed him my work and what I could do. And I was hired, literally hired on the spot. And something that I thought was going to take me a year did not take me, I think, like 4 months to get everything done. But now that I'm there, let me just say this. There are some things about it that makes me wonder, like, was it really the best? Just because there's still this idea in Nigeria and a lot of Africa that Western life, Western education, and Western people know more. And so those were some of the things I had to come to understand. That, Felicia, you're here because they think that you know more than an African person can do in the school environment. Because I always question like, why? Because I was there, and then the two people who came before me were not, they weren't African, they weren't Black, they were white. And then now I'm there, and I'm from the United States. And so I've asked her, why would you choose somebody from the United States to come in and run an African school? And there's this idea in Africa that Western people know more and they can do a better job. The curriculum that's there is from European, from the British curriculum. So those types of things. And then once I got there and I got hired, I fell in love with Nigeria. Now, choosing Nigeria is not something, this is not something I put out there for everybody. Everybody can't come to Nigeria and live. I'm gonna just put that out there. So it won't, if you brave enough, I had read Things Fall Apart. I had taught it for many, many years. I'm a Chimamanda fan. I've read all the, her books. So my understanding of Nigeria was very clear. I think when I told my mother that I was moving to Nigeria, I told her, do not Google Nigeria, because I knew if she Googled it, she was going to be afraid for me going there because, everything about Nigeria. And, recently there was a lot going on in Nigeria with the kidnappings of some boys. It's a lot that goes on there because the cultural groups, the level of poverty, and I'm not in that area. And so I have to be extra safe. But Africa is one of those places where you really have to do your research before you decide that this is where I'm going to go, because there are a lot of major adjustments you have to make. The instability of the network systems, the instability of electricity. I remember being in a grocery store my first time there, going around shopping, and all the lights went out. And I was like, oh my God, there's a power outage, and everybody else around me was still moving. Like, what's the big deal? And so I had to adapt to this idea of lights going out sometimes and not having the stability of power. But I didn't choose Nigeria. I honestly tell people Nigeria chose me. And why I'm there and how I got there was not, the way that people would traditionally, but it's not a place that I would recommend for everybody to just come in and say, oh, I'm coming. You have to be really ready for African culture. Now, South Africa, it's a sale. The white people are there. They have all the amenities. There are some parts of South Africa that remind me of Miami Beach. It's just that beautiful. But there are still many places in Africa, many African countries that are struggling. And when you talk about education, they have education. You can't get into, schools are overcrowded. Everybody wants to get an education. So they have the education part there, but the natural resources, the people who are coming into Africa, the white people, the Asian people, the Chinese people are there. They are taking so much out of Africa, but not putting anything back in there. And Nigeria is one of those places. Nigeria is an oil producing country, but they can't refine the oil in Nigeria because electricity is not stable. So we have to literally ship our oil out, and then it has to go somewhere and be refined and then come back in, to Nigeria. And so those types of things are still issues in Africa, that the natural resources are being taken out, but nothing is being put back into the country. To try to ship something in and out of Nigeria, it costs, it's crazy. So the shipping alone, where the same thing shipped from China would cost me $60, it's going to cost me $100 or $200 to ship it from Africa. And so those are the things that, but one thing I've tried to learn is that you can't solve all the problems, Felicia. You have to choose the one that you can. But what we have to realize is that there's not much of anything from natural resources that are that you have, us being on this internet here. The natural resource came from Africa. So why isn't everybody in Africa not wealthy? Why is everybody in Africa not living at a level where they can take care of their family? Because it has gotten so corrupt in some places where they have the people fighting against each other because they've chosen to say, okay, if you work for my company, we'll pay you. If in other cultural communities, we won't pay you. And so it's a lot of political stuff that goes on there, but it's a beautiful place. The people are genuine. I love thinking about what's my next step. And when I think about not being in Nigeria, it kind of makes me sad. Like, I don't want to leave there, but I know that there's some opportunities for growth that are not going to be able to be given to me there because of so many limitations on expansion and so many limitations on how they do things there. So that's the other option. But you most definitely are welcome to come anytime. I think about the movie Blood Diamonds and how nobody would be able to wear a diamond if it wasn't coming from Africa. And so how is it that Africans are not all wealthy, but the natural resources of Africa are being stolen from the continent and nothing is being put back in there? And because it's an African country, because it's Black people, nobody's really paying attention to it. Nobody is paying attention because they really think that it's not something of value, but they come and get everything. There are things that are produced in Africa that I look at it on the street, and I have a friend now who's telling me to bring him back some shirts because he wants some quality shirts. I said, I will not be bringing you back shirts made in China when I can go right down the street and hire a tailor to make the same shirts. And so that mindset is still there, that they think if they get it from the United States, it's going to be better. So that's the one thing that I've been trying to help some people understand, that because it's in the United States doesn't make it better quality. The quality of what you can get is right here in Africa, and they don't. It's been brainwashed from them thinking that the Africans can produce just the highest quality of anybody else. But we're working on it. We're going to get there. That's my new thing. I have a saying. Africa is good enough. Africa is that's what I put out there. Like, you don't have to leave Africa. You don't have to leave Nigeria to get something that's better. Everything that's here is already good. So that's the part that I've been pushing there with my students and pushing with my community there. And that's another reason why I'm there, I guess, to spread the word that Africa is good enough. And that's one of the reasons why I'm there. So I appreciate the opportunity.
And I'm glad you're doing that. That coming from an American, because there was a king who liked my music and he got in my inbox, and that was the vibe he was giving me. He was trying to act like I was better than him or something, because I told him, he asked me where I was from, and I said, I'm from the United States, and he was like, wow, and basically trying to ask how he can get over here, something like that. And I'm like, King, don't fall for what my government is pushing out there, man. Don't fall for what you're seeing on the TV and stuff like that, because we're treated like crap over here. I mean, we're at the bottom of this society. I know poverty is relative, you know what I'm saying? So like last night, I think a king responded under a post I made about my 2020 review. And I'm just sitting in my humble home with my baby, pouring some champagne. But I guess to that king, he said, enjoy your money. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to get it. Over here in this society, my net worth is zero when it comes. So at this point, I'm still building, but I told this king in the inbox, I said, man, just build over there. You know what I'm saying? I'm no better than you. You got huge opportunity. A lot of our kids do that here as well. I'm going to leave Mississippi because ain't nothing here. Well, if you're going to go somewhere else, you're going where there's an opportunity for you to work for somebody.
Right.
There's an opportunity for you to grab hold of something they built. What about you build something here? You know why? And they say, well, why don't they bring this here? I said, well, the white people, you ain't bringing to the white people. Like
Mm-hmm.
Madison, where I went to, St. Joe's and Madison, it did not look like that when I went to school there. It didn't have the wall, it didn't have a Walmart, let
Yeah.
alone all the other stuff it got. So like when I taught in places like Holmes County, Mississippi, or I taught out there in North Madison County and Belma Jackson, and it's not a lot there. I tell my kids, quit waiting on the white people to bring it here. You bring it here.
Yeah.
You do that and you get the money for it. So I'm glad they have somebody like you over there that share that message with them. And it just enrages me though that imperialism is still going on, because that's one of the main words I always try to use. I used to try to teach my students is imperialism. It explains so much about the world where these strong countries take advantage of weaker nations and take their natural resources, force their culture on them, and it's just maddening.
I think it's shocking, and I don't always reflect on this, but I learned this from two of my teachers. And so the first example is one of my teachers. He was a new teacher, and he did a phenomenal interview, and he came to, his wife had just had a baby, and I had given him a gift, and so he came up to me one day and whispered in my ear. He was like, "I have something to tell you," and I was like, "What is that?" He said, "My wife is so excited that I get to work for a white principal now," and I was like. And I said, "Who is your white principal?" He was like, "You," because of my skin tone. And I said, "I'm not white," because I guess coming from America, working here, the other two principals, I said, "I'm not white." He was like, "Yes, you are. You're white." I said, "I'm not white. I'm black. What are you talking?" And so I had to really explain to them. And then I had another teacher who was a phenomenal teacher. He was working in a webinar with some people. And so he was explaining some of the things I had trained him to do. And so the people in the webinar were so impressed. And so he said, "Yeah, my white principal from the United States has taught us." And I was like, "Mr. What do you talk about your white principal?" And so the imperialism mindset has been embedded there that if she's white, it has to be right. And so I have really been training and teaching them and preaching to them that I am your black principal. I know as much as everybody else because it's in a book, it's on Google. I haven't come up with any of this stuff on my own. But that mindset is so embedded in the African culture that it makes them think that we are not worthy enough or we're not good enough to do this because we are not white. And this, once I explained this to this gentleman, it was strange. The way he did things after that kind of shifted. And it was one of those, yes, and it was shocking to me. I was like, because Mr. Such and Such, why? Because now that you know that I'm black, you don't want to put forth the same effort. You don't want to put forth the same goals. You don't have the same ambition. But what I will do, what white people would do, I'll let you go and find your way where you need, where you can really, I said, because I can do that if that's what you want. But the idea that you're thinking, and he was saying his wife was excited for him because he got, and I was like, but you're a phenomenal teacher. You're doing a great job. But now that you found out that I'm not white, you're going to change your whole attitude about how you deal with your students. And he's gone to another school because what he learned there, he didn't explain. He actually talked to me the other day. He said, "What you explained to me and what you taught me about teaching, because this was again something totally different from what they've been doing before, was the reason why I got the new job." And it was financial reasons why he had to leave. So I understood that. I most definitely always understand that. But it was like I had to prove to them, like, I know just as much as they do. I'm in the same category with them. I can do the same amount of training and learning and teaching that they can do. But sometimes they are caught in this idea of thinking that imperialism mindset that you said, that the white people can do it better. The white people have a better grasp of it. And I did not realize until recently that many of them still thought that I was white. And because of, just the complexion of my skin, but the idea that they think because I'm doing this, it must be because she's white. It must be because she's white. And so that's been another teaching opportunity for me to teach them to understand that you are just as powerful as they are. You have just as much skill as they do, because we are the ones who they model a lot of their skills behind. And the mediocrity of some white men and how they run their businesses and stuff, it's because they can do that because they have black people that behind them who are really pushing for the quality of work. And so that's one of the things that's been very helpful to me in understanding the imperialism, because I didn't, I was from Mississippi, this is just how life was for me. But once I got to Africa and I saw it firsthand, y'all really think that that was a big adjustment for me and a big learning opportunity for me, and been something that I've been working with my students. I have students who all want to come to the United States for education, and I tell them all the time, your life in the United States would not be the same, and you wouldn't have a driver. They have drivers, they have nannies, they have house cleaners. You walk into many of the homes in Africa, they're on marble floors, mansions, extremely. My students live a very affluent lifestyle, and that's one of the things I've even had to adjust to in my, life over there, having housekeepers and I like your life. That would not be your life in the United States. And when they get an opportunity to visit the United States, they come. When I get on the airplane to come, I'm in coach. That's the people in the front in first class, Nigerians. They come to New York and they come to the big places and they stay in fine hotels. Their family members who are here probably live in nice communities and nice neighborhoods. I say, but that's you only getting one visual of what life is like in the United States. There's a lot of poverty in the United States. There's a lot of discrimination in the United States. There's a lot of privilege that will not allow you to have the same life that you have here. So how can you work to build a life here that you think you're going to have in the United States, because it is not going to be the same? And I think that is shocking to the Nigerians. Are the most educated ethnic group in the United States of America. And I said that to a white lady one day, and she questioned me. She got disgruntled. I said, they are, because they believe in the power of education. And they believe that if not just a bachelor's degree, they have the highest, there are more doctors in the United States who are Nigerians than any other ethnic group, anybody. And it's hard for people to believe that, but Nigerians have embedded it in their minds, in their children's minds, that you have to get an education. Not just an education, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a pharmacist, you have to be somebody of high caliber when it comes to the education market. So that part they've done it, they've done that, they've achieved that. And now it's just the idea that how can I make sure that stays here on the continent and stays here in the country that has been the downfall, because they all somehow run away and come to these other places. So that's one of the things we've been working on with my students like this. If you go to the UK or you go someplace else to get an education, how do you bring those resources back here to the continent? But it's hard. It's extremely hard. But I love Nigeria. I can't wait for you to come visit, have a concert. And but it is one of those places I see now people are all talking about, I'm got to move to Africa. And I was sitting there thinking, like, you may not be ready. You may not be ready for some of the luxuries of what you have here in the United States. May not always be available in Nigeria. They depending on the lifestyle that you have, depending on the money that you have. Of course, people who may not have the ongoing electricity that goes out. Sometimes, of course, they have the generators and they have solar systems. I see Akon is doing a solar community, those types of things. So he's building resources there. So all those things are available. And the other misconception I would like to try to point out is, claim to fame is that we say, oh, we came from kings and queens. This is our, and the mindset is that kings and queens, so we were living in palaces, we were living here, and we had all these things. No, some of us were blacksmiths, some of us was farmers, when they took us away from our community. Some of us were, we weren't kings and queens, not all of us. And if you were a king or queen, you were probably living in a village. It wasn't like you were living in a castle somewhere. So this idea that that's put out there that we came from this luxury lifestyle, and then all of a sudden we were, put into slavery. They need to understand that there are so many levels in being an African and being in the African community that you can't just get stuck on this idea that we were kings and queens. No, we were all types of people. And they still took us away from our country. They still took us away from our continent and brought us here and made us think that we were less than everything. Whereas right now in Nigeria, you can't function without all the different types of people who can do things. The carpenters, the farmers, the blacksmith, they are all there. And somebody in our ancestry pool was a part of that. And so I try to, dismantle that idea that we were all kings and queens. No, we weren't all kings and queens. And the kings and queen mindset of what European kings and queens look like is not what an African king or queen would look like. It's different levels of it. And so that's another thing that has been helpful to me to really understand that and really educate people on that idea.
And I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I'm trying to do with when I converse with people about calling them kings and queens is to say it's not a wealth component.
Mm-hmm.
It's not where you live, but it's about, are you taking care of your family?
Yep.
If you taking care of your family, you the king of your household, you the queen of your household. You feel me? And nobody can take that from you. You know what I'm saying? And you got to stand down on that. Be prepared to defend that. And you got every right to defend that. But you're a king or a queen if you're handling your business. Now, if you can afford all the drip and the jewelry and all this kind of crazy, no. If you handling your business, take care of your family, you are indeed a king and a queen. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
So when you said that about taking care of your family, when I moved there, I was looking for a community service project for my students. And I asked, I said, so where are your nursing homes? They were like, what's that? What's a nursing home? I said, well, the places where you take your old people when they get old, it's no such thing because they take care of their people until it's time for them to go to the grave. There's no place where you send your mother and send your grandmother or great grandmother off to go have somebody else take care of them. So that's the other adjustment that you have to understand. They take, when my people get paid, there are several other people that benefit from their pay. Their parents, the sisters, the brothers. There's no such thing as I'm a sibling of 4 or 5 people, and those other people underneath me are not getting the benefit from that. So that part of the African culture is also something that if you say you want to come to Africa, you have to come with the understanding that people are going to expect you to pay homage and do your duty of taking care of somebody. And that person is not because you're taking care of them because they're lazy. No, this is your younger brother, this is your younger sister, this is your mother, and so you take care of them. But it was shocking to me. They had absolutely no idea what I was talking about when I said nursing home and visiting a nursing home because they take care of their own.
That's real though. That's real, and that shows me that that's in us then culturally. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a severe panic attack in 2019 and went to the doctor. It was a Caucasian lady who turned out to be on some more stuff. I don't go to this lady anymore, but that's a whole nother story. But one of the things that made me have a severe panic attack was my mom almost died that year from sepsis. And so I was telling her about me being my mama's, caregiver. And she said, why don't you just put her in the home? Like it was nothing. That was her advice to me. Like, what, and I'm taken aback by that. Like, no, that ain't even an option for me. That's my mother. When I was nothing, she cared for me. Even today, she helps me. Like in the midst of this pandemic, I couldn't have made it without my mom. But this lady, I guess, culturally for her, I'll just put in a home.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most gratifying thing about your job?
The most gratifying thing about my job right now is being able to be around, being able to have this conversation right now with you, helping you help somebody else, being able to, finally be able to give a different visual of Africa, of Nigeria, because people ask me all the time about my pictures, and I've been very conscious about not showing a lot of the things that when you see a picture of a village, oh, I can't believe she went there. So sometimes I don't put those pictures out there. I don't put those images out there because I know that everybody's not ready to see that. Because I may go out and buy my food off the street and people are like, I can't believe she eating food off the street. But then when I'm in Thailand, that's all they do is eat food off the street. But of course, because of what people think about Africa, they see that as something nasty, like you shouldn't do that. So being able to give a different picture of Africa, of Nigeria, to really, and I have friends who are planning to come there this summer, and planning to hang out. I see that Ghana is really doing a big job with trying to promote Ghana and getting people to come back. This idea that we grew up in, again, it was, through our education system. I tell people all the time, there's some things about culture that I just didn't learn in the school system. So being able to use this as an opportunity to help other teachers, help children understand that there are different cultures. I remember my first teaching job. I was supposed to teach comparative religion. I said, comparative religion? You mean Catholic and other folks? What are you talking about? And to be able to put myself in a position where I can talk about different religions, Hindu religion and all these different people, and having that mindset. But changing the perception that people have about Africa, specifically Nigeria, has been the most rewarding thing about this, for people to now be saying, oh, I can't wait to come to Africa. I can't wait to come to Nigeria. I can't wait to visit, instead of having this mindset of thinking, I'm not going there, and thinking that it's all poverty. People in Nigeria, Some of the folks I don't understand. I joke about this with them all the time because they all say the economy is bad. I said, stop lying about the economy, because I can literally from my house to this grocery store that I walk to is less than a mile, because going there and coming back is 3 miles, because I use it as my 3-mile marker. I can literally, Adam, seriously count at least 20 Mercedes on that street at that time. 20 going back and forth. And I tell them all the time, I said, you all stop using this lie that the economy is bad. You all, the stuff that you all buy, and I'm just talking about the Mercedes, the brand of Mercedes. I'm not talking about the Land Rovers and Range Rovers, the Maseratis and all, the Lexus, on one street at one time within less than 20, 30 minutes. And they don't think that makes an impact. I said, when I showed my nephew Marcus, I was on FaceTime with him one day and talking to him. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm at home. He said, you in Africa? He said, yeah. He said, Africa looks like that? I said, what did you think Africa looked like? And, just being able to give a new understanding of Africa and Africa life and the people of Africa, the mindset about Africans has been the most rewarding thing to me. So hopefully, once I'm leave there, more people will want to come to visit. It is not a place where everybody can come live. If you're retiring and you and your spouse decide, we want to have a new retirement place, fine. But just being able to uproot your family and bring them here, that's not something I promote. But I honestly think it needs to be someplace where we start putting our economy. Africa is on the coastline. It's, why are we not spending our coast? We're going off to all these other places and spending our vacations on the coast. There are beautiful beaches in Africa, beautiful places to visit. There are over 50 waterfalls in Nigeria alone. But nobody's promoting this as a tourist location. Nobody's promoting this as a place to do your tourism. Like I said, South Africa is wonderful. It's a beautiful place. Kenya is beautiful. There are Seychelles Islands, and some of the beaches in Africa are some of the most beautiful beaches I've seen since I've been visiting beaches. And so being able to put that out there has been the most rewarding thing for me. So hopefully, I get to stay there, more years. Hopefully this job will continue, but I've at least opened up the opportunity for other people to see that Africa is a place that you need to be coming to, you need to be visiting, and not just Egypt, because people will come to Egypt and stand in front of the pyramids and, go see the Egyptian people, but the Black people, the people who look just like us, I promise you, all y'all cousins are in Nigeria. I look at people every day.
I'm glad you're saying that, because our people over here, even the woker than thou crowd over here, that think they know what they're talking about, but a lot of times they don't. When they talk about our home and we were kings and queens, they talk about Egypt. But it's like Egypt is in the continent of Africa, but the slave ships that brought us over here mostly came from sub-Saharan Africa, particularly West Africa.
Yes.
So you just trying to grab on Egypt, maybe, I don't know, maybe because that's what you heard of in the Bible, or that's the only thing you could see something positive of. But there's a lot of positivity in West Africa as well. And that's probably the blood that's in you is from West Africa.
That's right, from West Africa. It's that whole Nigerian, Ghana, that coastline right there is where it took place. And that's where it started. And then you may have had some from over Kenya, but those were usually moved over to the European side. They didn't come around all the way down the continent. It started right there in West Africa, and they came up that coastline and brought us to, those islands first, stopping in, Bermuda, Barbados, and stopping in those places, and then coming right to the United States. And I promise you, I look at in the visuals that we had of Africans and what they look like. There are more people that look like Adam Wells and Mary Wells and all of us right there on that continent. And I see them all the time. And I have one friend, she's like, I need to do my what's that? The little lineage thing, the little thing that you send in your DNA. I said, girl, you Igbo. I can show you your cousins right here. And I took a picture of some of my coworkers. And she's like, I said, you are Igbo. You don't need to do that. Don't give DNA. Don't give them your money. You are Igbo. You come from this part of Africa. These are your people, because they look exactly like her. They act like her. The spirit, she's always vibrant and happy. And I said, your people are right here on this continent, right here in Nigeria. So that's been the best part about all of this to me, to expose a different Africa to people to Black folks. I don't care. The white folks come there and they make money and they live good lives. But the Black people are not coming to Africa because they still have this mindset that it is a place of poverty. It's a place of just poverty all over the place. There are no luxuries. The Hilton Hotel is there. The Hilton Hotel is the most expensive hotel. I said the Hilton done cost $300 a night in the United States. What, so you come there, the hotels are there, the luxury is there. It's a beautiful place, and I love it. And sometimes I make comments, if I can move my family all over there, I would never want to leave Nigeria. So the only reason I would even think about coming back here is to be closer to home, because the cost to get back and forth is expensive. Yeah. And that's the only reason I think about coming back to the United States to live. It's because I have to come back. My mother, at some point, I'm the oldest in my family. My children are going to have their own children one day. So of course I want to be close to my grandchildren. And so when I think about coming back, that's the only reason. But because I don't like Africa is not one of the reasons why I ever think about coming back. And even Nigeria, thinking about leaving Nigeria, especially now that I develop relationships, because you would develop some strong relationships with people. People are going to be, giving you respect, and you're like, well, oh my God, I didn't think I deserved all this. And people are going to be praying for you all the time, and people are going to be wishing you well. And so you get those relationships with the people. And so now I'm thinking about, Lord, when I leave, but thanks to Facebook, I still be connected. So that's the only thing that's giving me some solace in the idea that if I ever leave there, I won't leave the connection that I have with these people, because I can at least through Facebook and WhatsApp and telephone, and then I still always be able to be financially, hopefully able to go back and visit them. And so just being able to have the conversation with you and talking about Nigeria, and hopefully your fans from Nigeria will see that Nigeria is one of the best countries in the world. So I'm gonna put that out there. So when you put this on there, they'll know. And I just love the place. I just do. I love it. And being able to show other people, and that's been the most rewarding thing ever.
Well, I want to let you speak on this real quick too, because I thought about it earlier when you said part of the reason you became an activist, you felt like it was in you, and you spoke on defending one of your little white classmates. Mm-hmm. And I want to let you speak on this real quick, because in being in this business, I deal with trolls, and you're gonna when you're outspoken, you're activist, and you speaking truth, especially as a black person, you have folks come at you. So I want to have you speak on how you being so pro-black does not make you anti-white. Because like you clearly, somebody watching this who doesn't know you and know your spirit might say, oh, she talking about she want a black doctor, go to HBCU and all that kind of stuff. But you just showed how one of your oldest memories is defending your white classmate. And so it's a mild misperception that for us as minorities in this nation, trying to do something for our community makes us, and even with the Black Lives Matter, they flipped that and said Black Lives Matter, that's racist, that's terrorist. So can you kind of speak to that?
I think the innermost, the truest part of the Black spirit is that we are humane people. We live for humanity. We live for the right. That's why our ancestors were able to take care of white children. We had our Black ancestors were able to take care of white people and their children in a humane way, even though out in the field in other instances, white people were not taking care of us. There's something in us, as our spirit is just deep, and we want people to be treated fairly. We want people to be treated right. And I think that that's just an ingrained spirit in us. So it doesn't matter to me whether a person is Black, white, Asian. I've seen a lot of Indian people be mistreated. There's something that's built in us through the Spirit of God that wants us to be able to treat people fairly. And so, unfortunately, poor white people don't see that they've been treated unfairly in a lot of places. They don't see that. And so Wesley was one of the students at our class. His father decided he couldn't afford to send him to Canton Academy, so he was at Holy Child. And so there were times when, me, of course, falling trapped to, I would do things, but it got to a point in my life like, this not right. This just not right. And this whole Black power, Black activist thing, the people who are really like that, they want humane treatment of all people. And that's when you look at Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca and he saw what was going on there, he came back and was like, okay, yes, I have the Black power movement in me, but you know what? I want to make sure that the government is treating everybody right. When they talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, and they talk about him being killed in Memphis, Tennessee, because he went there for the boycott of the garbage men. majority of those garbage men were white. They were poor white men, and nobody really wants to talk about that. He went there. His movement, the civil rights movement, was part of the poor man's movement. He was talking about poor people, poor black people, and poor white people. Unfortunately, poor white people have just not gotten a hang of it. They haven't adapted to the fact that this movement against imperialism, this movement against classism, this movement is about poor people against rich people. And so a lot of the black activists knew that. Even when the Black Panthers, you think the Black Panthers would have turned away a white child if they had come to get a free meal? No, not at all. They would have taken care of him. They would have allowed that child to sit in that lunchroom with all the other black children, whereas that same little black poor white boy would have gone to a rich white neighborhood and they would have turned him away. So black activism is about being able to treat people humanely, being able to treat people in a way which God has designed us to treat everybody. And unfortunately, people see that as me trying to, be a racist against white people. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. And I just gotten to the point where I don't feel like I need to explain that to you. I'm telling you that I want to support a black doctor because I know the white doctor's going to be okay. They got plenty of white patients that come to them. The black doctor may not have as many, so I'm going to put a little money in their pocket. I'd rather, go to a black person who's doing this because, in the example I use, have you ever watched the movie The Big Bang Theory?
I have.
The TV show. Okay, the TV show The Big Bang Theory, and I always use this as my example of privilege. Privilege is only about oppressing people. And unfortunately, rich people have not seen that the privilege that they have is when they oppress people. White people have a certain privilege. And so the privilege that you have is that you're white, and there are certain things that come along with that. But I know for a fact that poor white people don't have the same privilege as rich white people. Poor white people don't understand it. There's a part of the privilege in being rich that oppresses poor white people, and poor white people don't see that. So they haven't become activists of their own. They haven't built their own activist community. So my thing with all of them is always like the Hispanic community, you need to build your activism there. Poor white people, you need to build your activism there. I'm just working in my people, in my community, to build the activism there. That doesn't mean I'm against your community. That doesn't mean I won't support your activism. That doesn't mean I won't support the people who are talk against the people who are oppressing you. I'm just saying you have to build your own network. And that's the only thing that I've been trying to do is this whole Black Power movement of being a black activist. I'm trying to support my network so that I can have my own shows. But that show, The Big Bang Theory, when I use it as an example, it's a show. And if you ever get an opportunity, just look at one episode. It's all the scientists on there are white. They have one Indian young man. The young ladies who are on there, the stars of the show, one is a scientist, she's white. The other one, they're both white scientists, the two girls. Even when the young lady who is like the star of the show, she's a white waitress in a restaurant. I said there's not one black person on the entire show, not in the audience. And so when they decided that somebody probably wrote a letter saying there are no black people here, so they hired the 227 young lady. What's her name? Regina? They hired her to come in to be the HR person, and she was a mean black lady that everybody feared. They didn't want to be around her, so that was the perception of that. But I said that's an example of the type of privilege that white people have. You can create a show and not have one black person on there, and that's okay. But as soon as I create a show and I have all black people on there, I'm a racist. No, I want to be able to show the same examples in the black community that you can honestly always show in the white community. I was going to an NAACP event one time, and one of my white coworkers said, we need to have a white organization for white people. I said, you have the Mississippi Senate. You have the Senate. You straight. You got it already.
You already got that.
You already have it. And so he thought that I said, you have the Senate. I said, you already have power. You already have it. So we have to create networks within our communities that allow us to build the power within us so that we can make networks. So you said we can build our wealth. We can build our communities. It's not that I'm against you. More power to you. You just build. White people don't have to build it. It's already there. It's already given to you. So you don't have to have a white power movement. And that's the thing that they keep, all lives matter. Your lives been mattering. Your lives been a credit. You've always had everything in place for you. So now us saying Black Lives Matter is just our opportunity to say we want the same justices. We want the same opportunities that you all have. We want the same treatment that you all get when police encounter you, that you all get. So they always think it's us against them. No, it's about you already have your things in order. Let us get our stuff in order. And the Black Lives Matter movement, needs to speak to the Black communities also. Like, you can't always depend on the white community to give you the things that you want. So I don't get involved in people saying I'm a racist, or I get it from my cousins all the time. I get it from people that think it's a joke, and I've just gotten to the point where I don't explain it. I'm just trying to build for Black folks the same thing that white folks have always had and have always had the privilege of having, and then just let us know that we have it too. But the people who are really losing out in all of this are poor white people, because they have not been able to build an activism within their own communities that allows them to be able to uplift their people out of the poverty that they're in. There are generations of poverty in the white communities, just like there are generations of poverty in the Black community. But they feel like we against them and they against us, so we got to fight each other. Nope, we all in the same situation here, because a poor white man gonna get just as much time as a Black white man in some situations when they have to encounter the police. Most of the time, they don't encounter the police the same way we do. That's the difference. They're not blocking out their neighborhood streets. They're not coming into their homes without warrants. And so that's the only reason why they're not suffering as much as we are, because the interaction with the police is not the same. But when they have to interact with us, they don't get any luxuries behind that. They throw them in prison, and there are a lot of poor white men. It's not as many as us, because the interaction is not as often. And that's why when I get a chance to talk to poor white boys, I said the only reason it's not as many as you all in the jails as Black boys, because the interaction with white people is not the same. Y'all don't have as many encounters with the police as the Black boys do. Police, they come to the neighborhoods in the Black communities and they camp out. They don't come out to your neighborhood and camp out. If they came down to your neighborhood and camped out, it'd be all of y'all would be in jail too. But they spend more time in our communities looking at us, whereas they don't spend as much time there. And so they haven't built their avenue. So my thing is that I'm not against white people. I'm not against any other race of people. I'm not against you building your network, building your worth. It's already there. I'm an activist for Black people, because we got to get our stuff right in order for our communities to continue to grow and prosper. And we have lost it, and we have not been able to do it because we have all moved over to the other side thinking that life over there is better. And I always have a saying that the grass is greener on the other side because it's full of more shit. Bottom line. That's why the grass is greener.
It's real.
That's why the grass is greener. And once we realize that and start seeing the advantages that we have in our own communities, it may get better, it may not, but small doses. Your show, the people, the young men who are building their I was at my friend Rashid Davis barbershop the other day. I remember when Rashid moved into the barbershop, it was just one little part. Now he's expanding. The barbershop is a clothing store now. He's selling clothes out of there. So small little things like that. Go in there to shop, go in there to get your hair cut, making sure that you keep your money in the community. All those types of things are the things that I'm an activist for. I'm not against white people. If you my friend, you my friend. I don't care if you Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, but I'm gonna always root for the Black people. I just really am.
That's real. That's real. So what would you say is the most difficult part of your job? Because some people think when you have success, they try to they see the end product. Okay, like they see you doing your thing in Africa right now, but they might think that it's just easy for you. So what would you say is the most difficult part of your job?
Letting other people know that it's not easy. I think because now social media and putting your information on Facebook has become a common thing with a lot of people. Most of the times when I post on social media is something positive, something happy, some good times. They don't see the other side of this. They don't see the back side of this. They don't see the enormous amount of student loans that I have. They don't see the over the years, the bad credit that I accumulated because I didn't understand credit score and all those things. It's just that I don't publicize it. And I've just gotten to the place in my life where the material aspects of living has not been so important. Being able to see the world and seeing other people, seeing how other people live has become important for me. So I think the hard part is just letting people know that I have 5 letters behind my name. My life has not gotten any easier. When I was working for the Mississippi Department of Education, they didn't call me Dr. Jackson. They still called me Felicia. And so, me thinking that getting those letters behind my name was going to change their perception of me. No, it did not. And so letting people know that you can go out there, your main goal you have to always remember is that as long as internally you are satisfied with what you're doing, you cannot look for other people for gratification. And that's the thing that I think keeps all of us in a situation that makes us feel like we're not successful. You're successful right in the place that you're supposed to be right now. But because we don't get the promotions we want, because we don't get the accolations that we want from people, because we don't get the wealth that we think we deserve, we feel like we're not successful. But we have to always realize that they would never see us on the same level as them. They would never see us as being their equal, because they feel like the affirmative action is the reason why you're here, or there was some diversity, equity, and inclusion policy that we had to implement because you're here. We always have had to work harder than them. We've always had to, put ourselves in situations where we have to produce more than them. But they sometimes don't see it. So internally, you have to be able to say, I've done my best. I've put myself out there. I've achieved the things that I'm supposed to achieve, and be happy and satisfied and gratified in your own accomplishments. Because if you're waiting for them to give it to you, it may not ever happen. If they do, that's wonderful. More power to you. But, within our own communities, within our own standing, with what we're doing there, we have to start giving each other the same praise and same things that we're expecting external people to give. So don't be thinking that you haven't done great things, because behind the scenes of my life, you won't know some of the stuff that's going on, because I'm not going to put it out there. But that's okay. What you see, it makes you feel like I've accomplished something, I've done a great job. I'm okay with that. But on the flip side of things, the fact that I was able to complete a paper when I could, I had problems spelling in school, was a big deal to me. And I'm still getting to the point in my life where I can even introduce myself as Dr. Jackson sometimes, because I'm like, because once I finished the doctorate, I was looking at other doctors like, okay, y'all, it ain't really all that, you finished the paper, so come on. So I had to really, and I have a friend who has to tell me all the time, like, Felicia, you've done a lot. But I still feel like it's so much more that can be done. It's so much more that needs to be done. It's so much more work that needs to be done in our communities. But I'm happy with being able to do this Africa thing, expose people, having this conversation with you right now. Hearing you say your mother thought I was one of her good students has just, that's brightened my world right there.
See, my mama love the kids with the juice. She like me. I always love the kids with the juice. You know what I'm saying?
I think I was probably embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I know his mama gonna tell him some awful story. So just hearing that, self-satisfaction, and just taking care of your family. Being able to do things for my family that I was not able to do 5-10 years ago. That's the stuff that I like. And I think that's my greatest accomplishment, but it's not easy. The hardest part about that is helping people understand you have to be rejoiceful and satisfied in your own accomplishment. Because if you're waiting for somebody else to give you the praise, it's not going to happen. And unfortunately, sometimes the people closest to you are not going to understand it. And you have to be okay with that too. So put it on the list, get it done. And the other thing, if it works out, it's good. If it doesn't work out, move on to something else. You don't have to feel like because it wasn't successful that you did it. And that's all that counts. And if you turn around the next year and say, I don't want to do this anymore, that's good too. Don't feel like you obligated to stay in something that's not bringing you the joy that you want.
So what would you say has been the most challenging thing that you had to overcome in your life so far?
Raising children, I tell people all the time, being a principal and being a parent has been the two toughest jobs in my life, because you think as a parent, you're doing it all right. I started, my mother at 20 something, 25, 24, 25 years old. And I'm like, how in the world did I think that I knew how to be a mother to a child when I was in my 20s? And now that I'm 50, almost 50, I look back and like, I should have waited till I was 40 to try to be talking about it, because you don't know, because you're still learning so much yourself. And so I made a lot of mistakes as a parent, because I was trying to be this parent that I thought, you got to be strict, you got to be, on, you got to be tough, you got to be this. And it probably caused relationship issues where my children thought I was just too mean to be this mother that they could come to and talk to. So I think that was the most challenging part. And now being in a place now where I see like, dang, Felicia, you messed up on some stuff. You need to go back and try to clear it up. But then your kids like, we already, you that woman, and trying to help them understand. I was 20 some years old. I had no business, trying to think that I could be the perfect parent or the perfect mother, modeling. So applaud these people who did this and when you have a baby at 15, 16, 17, my hats go way off to you, because I was in my 20s. I had a good job. I was married, and I was still, like clueless on what a parenting was supposed to be. But just learning from the mistakes and moving forward from that is extremely helpful to me now, because now I can go back and try to rectify some of the mistakes I did make. But parenting has been the most challenging thing in my life, I feel like. And it's been rewarding, but it was challenging because you're doing things the way you think it's supposed to be done, when you have to realize these are two individual people. These are three individual people. They have their own personality. They are not you. The way that they think about life may not be the same way that you think about life, and having to adjust your brain and adjust your mindset to be able to adapt to these children that you're raising is not always easy to do.
That's real. So I used to try to tell my students, and I still tell people all the time, to get through challenging things, you got to lean on people. You got to lean on somebody. So who are those people in your life who you lean on in your difficult times?
Well, she's right here in the room with me now, my mama.
Okay. Shout out.
About, she was a young lady when she had me, and I can remember growing up, it wasn't just me. My cousin Cherie lived with us at one time, and you may know my cousin JJ. I used to think that my cousin JJ was this older, and when one day I realized you're only 10 years older than me, and you were living with us, like you were grown. And so, she had me in the house. She had my cousin at one point. She had my cousin JJ, who was from Mississippi, living with her, and she took care of all of us. And being able to do that as a young person, I think about that like I was in my 20s and I was struggling with that one, and here you are, you had 3, 4, people taking care of them, and then still working. I was in here yesterday looking at the refrigerator, and it just dawned on me, I don't remember having a day when my mother didn't cook a meal. I just don't. And I would have to sit there and think some days, like, what y'all want from Chick-fil-A? What and coming home, when I used to come home from Holy Child, supper was ready, meals were done. And so having somebody, and then my sisters and I joke all the time, like, Lord, what are we gonna do when she not here to cook our Sunday dinners or cook Christmas dinner? Because none of us know how to really make biscuits, and just thinking about that makes you emotional. Like,
you're right.
So honestly, that person is the person that I can say, when I look at how she has taken care of us, and how she's taking care of not only us, but trying to make sure that her family and her sisters stay together. To me, that's been the most rewarding and most inspirational person to me. Outside of that, everybody else has just come secondary. There are a lot of people, my grandparents, of course, having them, I was talking to somebody last night about my dear, and she was talking about how much fun it used to be. So having her jovial spirit, I see that in me. Like, I always want to have fun with people and be friendly to people. Then my other grandmother, who was principal at a school at some point, but having both of them, the characteristics of both of them within me, I get excited about that. So those things. And then, of course, my father, being an educator, those. And then my sisters, of course, are here now. One is, pharmacy tech. One is over here working for the State Department. But my one sister keep a clean house. Like, you go, her house is always clean. And I'm like, she's always making comments about, I said, I don't get to do this. So having all those people around me, my community is a strong community. And it's a community full of diverse people. And I'm appreciative of that. It's not just one level of what everything should be. And so, my mom, honestly, that's it. She's over here now getting dinner ready for today. I'm like, what you need me to pick up the plates?
Well, I got to shout out your mom too now, because just like my mom educated you, your mother was my kindergarten teacher. You know what I'm saying? And just the way you love Holy Child, that's the way I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like my ethical foundation was there at Holy Child G. I try to tell folks, you can't tell me anything about religion, bro. I had religion 5 days a week. We started school with prayer. We prayed through the day. We had to put on prayer service and mass and all that kind of stuff. And just the discipline. You know what I'm saying? I remember Mrs. Smith, Miss Gilbert, Miss Jackson, Miss Gentry, Miss Nason, like all these different teachers, my early years, this foundation building. And they just, they were just stellar. But I loved Miss Jackson. I loved pretty much everybody at Holy Child too. it started had to go down a little bit, during my
financially, and even when I was there, because it was
kind of
shocking
rough.
to me, and I asked one of the parents from Sacred Heart whose children were at St. Joseph. And I remember being in a room with her one day, and I said, why you didn't send your children to Holy Child? Because, the idea of Holy Child was that it was for Black children. It was for poor Black children. So, there was a whole community of white Catholic people right here in Canton. None of them sent their children to Holy Child. They took them all the way down to St. Joe and then to, with the new St. Teresa and all that. But none of them patronized Holy Child Jesus School because, again, it was that racial divide, that Holy Child Jesus is for poor Black children. And when I became the principal there, they would say, the school for poor Black children. People would try to donate stuff. I'm like, I don't want some carpet that's been in your business for 30 years, and now you want. Because then it came aware to me, matter of fact, I had the conversation with Arthur Tate. I said, did you think our school was a school for poor Black children? His father was, and what was he, a senator at the time? And you had people who parents were attorneys, and I said, y'all think our school? But the white people thought that our school was a school for poor Black children. I remember having a CYO thing. We were doing Jeans for Jesus. I would never ever forget this. Jeans for Jesus. And what's that Catholic church? Not St. Teresa. What's the other Catholic church that's down there in Madison? I don't think it's St. Richard's. They collected jeans from all the parishioners in their church. It was one of the wealthy white Catholic churches down there. They collected jeans from all the parishioners, and it was a Jeans for Jesus drive. And so they came. I was CYO president at the time, and they wanted to pass out jeans in the neighborhood to the poor people. So they had all these jeans on the back of this flatbed truck, and they loaded us on the flatbed truck. And they said, and they had gotten a list of poor people from I guess the welfare office gives you a list of people when you go ask for it. And so we were going around to the neighborhoods, and they pulled on my street. I was like, why? He said, well, we got the names of the families who need. And so in their mind, they were thinking, these are all the poor people in Canada. We were going to neighborhoods where my friends live, where people in my school went to school, and my mind was like, these aren't the poor people, because my mind was thinking the poor people are the people who live out in the country, the people that I didn't have interaction with. But to them, the students who went to Holy Child Jesus in the Holy Child Jesus community was a community for poor Black people. And so that was my first real big eye-opening being as a child, that, oh my God, they think we poor. And then when I became principal at Holy Child, the whole thing was, oh, the poor, everything that was done for us was done because they felt like they were helping the poor people. It wasn't because we were a Catholic school or because, we are the part of this Catholic network. Oh, the poor people in Canada. I was like, well, it's not like that. And so that was one of the major challenges I had with even, the superintendent at the time, because she felt like there were just certain things that we should not be buying at Holy Child, or we should not need at Holy Child, or we shouldn't have that. And she would make reference to that. You all can't afford it. Okay, well, where are we going to get the money from? Because the white people who live in Canton, who are going to Sacred Heart Church in Canton, are not sending their children here. When they go down there to St. Joseph, they paying with $10,000, $20,000 a year for tuition, but they won't even bring their children here to school. And when that question was given to them, their thing was, of course, the excuse, well, we thought you had the nuns. I said, but why you didn't bring your children to school here? And it was, again, that racial divide that we have in Canton. That historically, and Martin Luther King said the same thing. That's always been said. That the church would tell you where the racial divide is still in your community. And we 2 Catholic churches right here in Canton, Mississippi. The Black people still go to the Black Catholic church, and the white people still go to the white Catholic church. And those white people never ever sent their children to Holy Child Jesus. And had they done that, it would have been a totally different story. That because the money would have been coming in, the opportunities would have been coming in. The people who were living in other areas would have started bringing their children to Holy Child, but it never got that push from the Catholic diocese, the Jackson diocese. Send your children to Holy Child instead of sending them to St. Joseph. And that would have saved our high school. That would have saved a lot, because once you got to St. Joseph, you saw for yourself. There were children who lived in Canton who were at St. Joseph, and you're like, man, why you didn't go to Holy Child with me? They never brought their children to Holy Child. It never happened. And so that was the major downfall, because one thing about private school, whether you have to have people to come there willing to pay the money. And unfortunately for us, we just didn't have the support from the people in the Canton community who were Catholic to bring their children there. So we weren't able to generate the money. And I tell people all the time, because it closed down 2 years after I left as a principal, I said it had done its part. Everything has a season, and Holy Child Jesus did its part. It played its role in what it was supposed to be for society, and then it was time to move on and let people do something else, because financially it was not working for the church or for the people who were trying to keep it open.
So outside of your family, who is some of your greatest influences?
I have a very dear friend that helped me, and it was the story behind her is so funny, because again, it was going to HBCU experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a historically Black college. I was in my last year teaching, and so you had to do your student teaching. And so I was assigned to go to this school in Dayton, and at the last minute, the person that was supposed to be my supervising teacher said, no, they can't do it. So I was assigned to another school, which was a very good school, but I was assigned to another school, and I walked into the classroom, and there was this white woman sitting there. And I had just had, like, you know, my supervising teacher, or my supervisor, my Black supervisor at the HBCU, she and I had like this interaction that wasn't positive. I thought that she was setting me up for failure. I said, why in the world would she put me with this white lady? You know, because I had come from Canada. My interaction with white women at that time was not the most positive. And so I was assigned to this woman. I went in there thinking I'm going to fail. She's going to, you know, this is a setup. This is not going to work. And she has become one of my dearest friends and one of the people in the education community that has helped me actually grow. And so it's strange to me when people read stuff about what I'm saying on Facebook, and I try not to be that person that said, well, I have this white friend. She has helped me understand. I remember saying one time, these children don't want to learn. She said, you don't ever say that about a child. She's like, you never say that about a child. She had worked in Dayton public schools and had worked in urban school districts, and she had been a teacher of Black children for over 40 some years. And she was the person who helped me really understand a lot of the things I understand now about being a Black teacher in a Black school with Black children. And so I made that statement one time. They don't want to learn. And parents, she said, you know, she told me, don't ever say that about them again. They have just as much respect for education. She was the one who told me about Black boys are the kindest, most kind-hearted spirit boys I've ever taught, you know, that type of thing, because the perception of other people was that they were negative. But we always say to each other, this was divine order, because I would have never thought that a white person could influence my education opportunity and then help me become a better teacher. And she has been one of the people outside of my family that has been very influential in helping me become a better educator, you know, giving me some insight into life. She's actually the godmother of my two children. And it's strange when people see that. It's strange. It's totally strange. People see me with, you know, this going on, and then she's standing next to me, but she is the one who she'll send me a book to read. You need to read this book. You need to read this book. And it's all about how to be a Black activist. But she is the perfect example of white privilege. She is a perfect example of how white privilege is supposed to work. You understand, she understood very well. She's in bridge parties, you know, when you see pictures of her on Facebook, she will help, but she is the one that keeps me in tune to, you need to pay attention to this. You need to go look at this organization, because she is understanding her privilege to the point where she says, I need to use my opportunity to help somebody else. And so I use her as an example of how this unearned privilege that you have walking around with you, how do you use it to help other people? How do you use it to help? And she has been one of those. Most of the books I started reading about Black power and Black activism started because she would tell me, read this book, sign up for this organization. She sent me something the other day, an organization I never heard of. It's all about Black culturalism and having to elevate back. And she sent me the link. She said, you need to sign up for this organization. And so, I try not to be embarrassed when I say it, because people are like, how you this person, but then this is the person you talk about. But it's the truth. It is the truth, but it is the example of white privilege playing a part in how it's supposed to be done in society. Because honestly, I used to joke all the time about white people hide the good stuff. They hide it. And they know things, and they have networks of people, and they have opportunities to be exposed to things that sometimes we just don't. And so she has used that as an opportunity to help me grow as a teacher. And she's become a very, very dear friend, not just to me, but to my entire family. We all, see her as part of our family now. So outside of my family, I would have to say that's her. And then within, the network of people who are out there. I pay attention to people. Angela Davis, of course, has always been somebody that I think at
I
some
see.
point in my life, she is, and I like, because she always seems so realistic to me,
Mm-hmm.
and opening my eyes to. I went to hear her speak one time, and she helped me understand what communism was, and how people and how all these things turn against you. And I remember one time being at a table and saying how I wanted to go to Cuba, and the white lady that was sitting at the table with me was like, why do you want to go there? But once I started understanding what Fidel Castro had done and how he made people leave there because they actually had slaves themselves, and he was like, you're not going to keep our people enslaved. You can do. And so once you get into an environment where you start understanding stuff, you see that many of the things that we learned as Black people, even being against Malcolm X. I remember growing up there were Black people who thought Malcolm X was like the worst thing going. And then, but being able to be exposed to it in a different way has been able to help me. So she has been that person outside of my family who's helped me truthfully grow to be beyond what I normally would see as normal. And she always calls me to order when she hears me say something or sees me do something that she feels like is not in order, because she knows that. And she tells me all the time, this is what white people think. This is what you have to do. This is what white people think. This is what you have to do. And she's helped me to understand the world of white people from a different perspective, because she's within the world and she understands them, but she also understands how to help me elevate myself. And so when I talked about getting a doctorate, I told you my undergraduate transcript, you'd be like, how did that happen? She was like, you can do it. She said, you can do it. And I was like, okay. And I did it and finished the paper and got that doctorate degree. And then, she was like, what's next? I was like, what's next? And she sees me now. She's like, Felicia, you should do. And I've never been into politics, and I never saw myself as a politician. But she's pushing that, and I'm like, I just don't want to do that. And she's like, you should really think about it. You should think about it. But I'm still in that fear mode. When you say something, other people may not agree with it. But right now, that's not on my table. But she is one. But so, and I looked those two women together, my mother and her. Without the two of them, you would not have me. That's bottom line. You would not have me at all. So I'm grateful for that and my two grandmothers. So the women in my life have just been able to just put something in me that I'm like, okay, I can do this. And sometimes that fearless mentality, that no man mentality, makes you look like you're strange, because I'm gonna come back to Mississippi one day, but I'm gonna probably live in a couple other places, and people don't understand that about me. Like, you gonna go somewhere else and live? I'm like, yeah. But they've gotten used to me to the point, because I'm just like, there's something else there. It's something else there. It's something else I need to learn. There's somebody else I need to connect with. And I'm always looking for that next opportunity. So this has been great being in Nigeria. I made some wonderful connections with people that I remember the other day having to find out something about a visa. And any other time you had to call the visa office, I was able to get on the phone and call somebody and say, my friends are coming. They was like, no problem. We'll take care of it. So those types of things are things I'm grateful for in being in Nigeria. And then being here, Mississippi was always going to be home. It will always be home. And 1219 North Oak Kent Road is someplace I always be able to come. But the world is so big. And I think that was an amazing thing to me about going to Nigeria and then getting on the airplane and going somewhere. And then you get in that line and you see all these passports from all over the world. We're in Mississippi, it was not, and Africans don't understand. I said, people, we don't have passports. You're in other countries, people, that's a thing that they have, a passport. I said, nobody really teaches us that in the United States. You need a passport. As long as you have your driver's license, because the idea of going out there and exploring the world was something that is not pushed with us. I have children who desire to go to a whole nother continent to study. That was not something that was pushed to us. And that's something that I'm really pushing with my children and my younger cousins. You can go and work somewhere for 6 months, a year, and on a whole nother continent and still come back home. You can go somewhere and do this for 2 or 3 years and still come back home. So I've really pushed that with them, because these young children and these people are outside of the United States are traveling the world. They are going everywhere. And it's always been pushed to us that it's too expensive, or you're going to be too far away from home. And now you can talk to somebody. People ask me all the time, when do you talk to us? I talk to them every day, 2 or 3 times a day. We FaceTime all the time. So life has really become easier when it comes to the communication, and the fear has got to be released that if your child goes someplace, something's going to happen to them. Something can happen to them right here in the neighborhood. right here in the United States. Give them an opportunity to explore the world, go out there and learn about different people, live in different cultures. When I went to Thailand and I saw temples for the first time, I was like in shock. And I always try to compose myself because I'm like, I can't believe I'm seeing this stuff. The world is so phenomenal. It is so wonderful. And I'm hoping that with me, that I can put that out there to people. Let your child take their internship and let them go and stay in that country for 6 months or a year and let them come back home. Don't be so fearful about what's going to happen to them if they go there. You can pray for them and let them go. And then also give you an opportunity to have some place to come visit. So hopefully I'm putting that out there also. Let these children go and explore the world. It's okay.
Now, this is a question that I'm going to ask every guest that I have, because I feel like everybody has his answer. When the song "Only God Knows" that I was promoting, I would always tell the folks that were having suicidal thoughts that you got to have somebody to live for. You got to have, even if it's just yourself, but it got to be somebody. I know my kids is my reason to live. You know what I'm saying? So, who do you live for?
It's my children. It is because sometimes I feel like, well, if I'm not here, they're gonna make the right decision, or they're gonna have somebody. And so, again, they living their own life, they're doing their own thing. But that's my biggest fear. Like, if something happens to me, are things going to be in order for them to make sure that they can take care of themselves and take care of their family? And so I always get teased about being overly insured, because I'm like, if something happens to me, and this is what white people do that keep their wealth inside their family, they make sure that when they die, there's some way for that wealth to keep building, that wealth to keep growing. And so it would be for my children and for my, my nieces and nephews, because they're smaller and I'm building relationships with them. So that would be it for the people in my family, my children, first of all, then my niece and nephews that are around their same age, because I feel like I'm making an impact on their life, in that giving them some opportunities to see the world and see things. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because I'm living in Nigeria, and the way my income is there allows me to be able to do things. And so I try to plan something. And this year we weren't able to do anything, but my goal is so that with this opportunity that I have, I'm not obligated to house notes and car notes and that stuff, that I can say, okay, we're going to take a trip here. We're going to go here. And so one day they can look back on those experiences and say, oh, okay, I've been there, and make them get used to some of the things in life that I was not able to have. And right now it's just, they get shocked when I say, I'm not buying that. You want me to get you a ticket to go somewhere? I'll give you some money to do it. Because I just feel like if we can just have our children be able to see the world and see different parts of the world and expose them to different people and different cultures and different ways of doing things, that's helped. So I live for them. I live for my children. I live for my nieces and nephews. And I live for, hopefully one day I can make a substantial impact on the Can community and what's going on here. I know I'm not here, but at the same time, I have connections with people in places and trying to build relationships with them that'll keep me, focused on what's going on right now with the 2 murders and the things that have happening in Ken. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I'm not, what can I do? And unfortunately, once it happens, you can't do anything. But how can we start educating our community to pay attention to the disparities that are there? People are robbing people now just for money and killing people for money. And so how do we build the opportunity for them to get? And so, I think I put on my Facebook page, and the Dr. Truly said, okay, but I think Amazon is coming here. Okay, Amazon's gonna come here and give folks jobs, but are they gonna have a situation where people can get reimbursed for going to school? Okay, I work at Amazon, but I still want to learn how to cut hair. Can I go to barber school? You're gonna pay for me to go to barber school so I can learn how to do that. I want to go and still become an electrician. Am I going to be able to provide the health care that I need for my children? Because everybody thinks that because somebody comes here with a job and they're going to give you a paycheck, but the underlying stuff, are you going to get tuition reimbursement? Because Amazon is $1 billion corporation. They can give tuition reimbursement. They can make sure that you have health care, not just for yourself, but for your family. They can make sure that you can get into the entrepreneurship program so you can build your own. So those are the types of questions we need to be asking companies who come to Ken. What's going to be the benefit from me working here? Because me working here is benefiting you. You getting an able worker to work. But what is me working here? How is it going to benefit me in the long run? Because 10, 15 years from now, I may not want to work for Amazon. I may want to own my own beauty salon. I may want to own my own car repair place. Are you going to help me get the certification to be able to do that? So I can actually make space for somebody else to come in and work for Amazon, and I can retire my way out and go work my own company. But sometimes I think people who allow these companies to come in don't ask those questions. They're like, oh, you got a job, but I got to work that job 35 years. And then that means that the people who are coming behind me, I can't fill in my spot. If you make it so that we can rotate in and rotate out, I work here 20 years. After I work here, I can go and run my business over here. And then that makes room for the next generation to come in. And that's how you keep those things going. But you got people working, and then you got to wait for your child to come. You and the mom and the child got to work in the same organization together, because the mother hasn't been able to build up her own network outside of the organization. So those are the questions I think Dr. Truly and our city leaders need to be asking people when they come to Canton, because it's become a situation where Mississippi has just become the Mexico of industry. I can go there and just give people a job, and they'll work for me and they'll build my wealth, and I don't have to put any more extra benefits into their life. And that's the part that's missing in everybody coming to Mississippi. Yeah, I'm glad that people have jobs, but at the same time, after I work for you 20 years, I should be able to retire 25 years, retire and build my own company, build my own wealth, and have my own thing going on. But most of these require you having some type of certification, some type of learning, some type of skill set. But I can't work for you 15 hours a day and then try to go and pay tuition somewhere. And there are so many corporations outside of the South who, when you go work for them, they pay you to go back and learn a skill. They pay you to go to school. They pay you to learn something else. And those are the things that are not happening with the companies that are coming into our communities. You go down to McDonald's now, and there were people that were working at McDonald's. I remember people working at McDonald's 15, 16 years. Were they able to get some stock in McDonald's? Were they able to, help make a connection to open up their own franchise? No, they worked there. The man who owned it built substantial wealth. He got very wealthy. And those same people who worked there for the 15 or 20 years, where are they now? Back in the same situation, because nobody was really pushing for them to be able to go outside of McDonald's, that job, and be able to build their wealth. So imagine all those people, if they were able to work for McDonald's at the same time, but also build their own small businesses, that would have changed the whole landscape of Canton, changed the whole mindset. And then when they retire and go work at their own companies, the other generation of people can come in and work for McDonald's, and it keeps going and it keeps filtering that way. But we don't build that type of understanding when we let companies come here. So that's why it becomes a standstill. So we'll see what happens.
I know a lot of time. I don't know if I've ever seen a woman be asked this question, at least locally. I think Angela Davis probably gets asked something like this. But is there something you'd be willing to die for? And I especially want to ask you this: as somebody who's outspoken in Mississippi, a woman outspoken in Mississippi, you might not think it's anything because it's just you, but you are immensely courageous to be you, even in 2021. Now, it takes a lot of courage to do that coming from here. I joked earlier when we had a little thing about the technical difficulties that was the federal government, but that's a half joke because I know from reading the COINTELPRO papers and studying history that the government does infiltrate organizations. The government spy, and they got. I mean, it's easier now than ever to spy because all of the devices that we carry with us on a daily basis is a portal to the world. So just being you and being an activist and being fearless out here, what are those causes or who are those people that you would say, you know what, I don't care. If that has to happen, if I had to leave here, that's why I'll do it.
It's so ironic that you asked me this question today because was it Christmas Eve or something? My nephew was here, my son was here, and we were all sitting here talking, and I'm on my thing, about them understanding this is what there was a time when Deerfield is the community down the street from me, you couldn't go there. You just couldn't go. And then this was right after the man who was killed, visiting his daughter's house in the garage. And this generation, a small part of your generation, but a lot of the generation see this world as this kumbaya atmosphere. I can go over this person's house. I can visit this person. And I remember Zion going to a party one time, and he was the only black boy there, and everybody else there was white. And I tried to explain to him, like, if you got in trouble, your friend Austin would get a total, and his idea was, no, we're gonna get the same. And so we were having this conversation Christmas Eve. And what I told my nephew and my son, I said, this is why I'm telling you all this. I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't want you to be in a situation where something happens to you. I said, because you have to remember, it's just the first impression. They see you, they don't see the background. They just see this is a threat to me, and they're going to do something. I said, so what I'm telling you, if y'all don't want your auntie or you don't want your mama to get killed or go to prison, I'm asking y'all not to do it, because I have so much respect for Trayvon Martin's mother. I have so respect for all these other people who've gone through this. I said, but and this just might be my mindset right now. I'm thinking, I said, but I just don't think that George Zimmerman would have an opportunity to live a full life if that had happened to mine. And I'm not condemning how she's gone about how she's done it. I think that how she's done it, to forgive, but I just don't think. And so my sister was like, I said, I know I couldn't do it. I couldn't just let it go. I said, I'd probably be like, let them go. No big deal. They can bond, let them be free. Because right now, how I feel about if something like that happened to my nephew or my son, I don't think that I would, it would not be a good end for me. I just know that. And that's what I know for a fact. If they doing something to me, I'm at the point now where I laugh. Somebody made a racial comment towards me the other day, and I laughed about it. It was no big deal. But I feel like if something happened to those two boys and my other little nephew, he's a little one, if something happened to them, it would not be a good outcome for me. And that was my message to them. Y'all can go and do what y'all want to do. But I'm just telling y'all, if y'all care enough about me, don't let anything bad happen to you. Because I know that in the end result, it's not going to be good for me. I'm going to send my daughter Epiphany, and same thing with my daughter Epiphany if something happened to her. Baby, I'm sorry I couldn't be here to help you through this, blah, blah, blah. Whatever happens, but this is just how it's going to be, because, there's nothing about that mindset that you can change. And I keep trying to tell them that and explain that to them. Like, when they see you out, they instantly see you as a threat. They're not going to ask you questions about where you from, where your background, neither one of them have ever been arrested, none. But when they pull you over in the car, and Zion has tattoos now. I said, Zion, they're going to see tattoos. They're not going to think anything other than, oh, he must be in a gang. He must be this. And so if something happens to you, I just, and I don't think it's fearlessness. I look at, sometimes I'm like, how does his mother, how does she function every day knowing that man is out there in the streets and able to function? When I know me, I'll be like, I can't do it. And my response to stuff like that has not been positive on my side. There have been situations that I've been in where it's like, I don't care, being arrested. I'm like, what's the big deal? I went to jail. What's the big deal? And I joke about it, the fact that that women in jail need reading programs, all this kind of stuff. Jail ain't been the worst for everybody, because I just feel like if something like that happened to one of them, that would be. So that's my answer. Those three. And my daughter, because it's getting rough on women out here too. But I think about those boys, and if somebody did to them what the George Floyd or the Trayvon or the Kamir Rice and all of those, I commend those people who are able to go through life without doing, what's the man in A Time to Kill, the Ray, when he came up in the courthouse.
Free Carly.
Like, I commend people who didn't turn into Carly, because when I watched that movie, I don't feel like Carly. I'm like, I understand what Carly did. I could totally understand it. And I could totally see myself, and somebody would have to really talk me out of it. Like, Felicia, don't do it. Just don't do it. Your mama needs you, your sister needs you, your daughter needs you. But at the end of the day, I know that if something happened to them, the answer to your question is those three boys right there. I can see it. And I pray that my prayer is that nothing happens to them, so I don't have to have my life go to a destructive end.
That's real. That's real. So what do you hope others can learn from your story?
Just don't give up. Don't give up, and set your mind on doing something and just go and do it. You can't sit back and think about what other people, my sister and I have this conversation all the time. People gonna always have something negative to say. People gonna always have something feeling like, you're not making the right decision. Life is about making mistakes and learning from the mistakes and moving forward. I have this Sankofa symbol tattooed on my arm. Look at what happened and move, look back at it and move, continue to move forward. And that's what life is supposed to be. So don't get so heavy on yourself. The situation that happened with you and the police officers, you have used that as an opportunity to help other people. So that's your Sankofa of your life. You look back on that, but this is what I'm going to do to move forward. When you get stuck in your mishaps and you get stuck in the things that have not been achieved for you, that's when you lose sight of what God really wants you to be. You have to use it as a learning moment and still move forward with it, and know that everything is not going to be perfect. Everything was never going to be to the place where you feel like everything's okay. But as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're doing the things in your life that are making you happy, that are bringing you some peace, then that's it. And when you feel like something's not being peaceful and joyful for you, you need to reevaluate it and say, what can I do to make it better? What other options can I look at in order to get out of this situation that I'm in, and not feel like if I make this decision, somebody's gonna think this of me, and somebody's gonna think I'm not making the right choice. You can't worry about what other people are thinking, because that'll hold you back from a lot of stuff, and it'll keep you in a lot of places that you really know in your spirit you're not supposed to be. And because it's not so much that we don't want to do it, it's just, what are they gonna think about me? What are they gonna say about me when I do this? Don't worry about what other people are saying. And I'm not saying being destructive. I'm not saying cross boundaries. I'm not saying, just live this boundaryless lifestyle and do things that are not are disrespectful to your culture, your people, and your family. But don't worry so much about what other people are going to think about certain decisions you make that are not in the norm. Me moving to Africa was not normal. It was not normal. My son was just graduated from high school. My daughter was in college, and the people didn't say it first, but she gonna leave her children here. It was not normal at all. But I went. I'm there. I'm doing it. And the first people and my sisters and them just found this out the other day. I knew back in February that I was moving to Africa. I asked my two children before I even started applying for jobs. I said, I'm really thinking about doing something international. Would you all be okay if I got a job in another country? That's like, go, no big deal. So those were the two people I talked to before I even started applying for jobs. And I thought that the process that I was going through was going to take me a year, so I would be here for Zion's first year of school. So when I found that I was leaving, I went to Zion and I said, would you be okay with me moving to Africa? I knew your first, and it was a super emotional thing, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to leave my son and go to Africa. But when I got permission from my children in March of that year, I never told anybody until June, 1 month before I was getting ready to leave, because I knew that there was going to be conversations about, why is she doing this? Why is she moving to Africa? Why? But once I got the okay from my children, and once they said it was, they were going to be okay, and life was going to be fine, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so you have to not hold back on things based on what you think somebody else is going to say, of what other people are going to think about you, especially when you know in your heart that you're not doing anything to harm anybody.
Well, I just want to say again, I appreciate you immensely for agreeing to do this. I consider you a mentor. Your wisdom, your passion, your knowledge. I didn't know that you had completed the doctorate, because I would have put Everybody Got a Story, the Dr. Felicia Jackson interview right there. I'm gonna make sure I do that in the description when I start putting it out and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I'm just proud to know you, and I know you are already making a difference. The Juneteenth celebration that y'all put together, I don't think I was able to be a part of the last one, but the last one that I was a part of was the biggest one that I had seen. We had it down in the hollow, and that thing was jumping. I mean, it was people everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It was our people. You had the food, you had the music, the culture. You know what I'm saying? I was rapping. You had gospel, you had R&B, you had a band. It was lit. We had the politics, so we had them there. It was kind of what y'all had always envisioned and talked about. When you bring out the party and bring out the celebration and stuff, you'll bring our people out. But when you got them, go ahead and sprinkle in that politics for them. Sprinkle in that, or
Right.
you can go over here and get this expunged over here. You can go over here and register to vote. And to see it from its infancy to where thing is now, that's a credit to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all standing on the shoulders of people from the past. Our hometown is real for that activism. I used to try to tell kids, you got something in your blood. CO Chins and all those kind of people. So I know you standing on them, but I want you to know you got some coming behind you too. After George Floyd's murder, some of my youngins organized something, and I'm telling you, you would have been so proud.
I saw you. I remember. I was like, "Good job, thank you."
Yeah, they organized that. The grown folks didn't do nothing. The grown folks were scared to a large extent. The old kid put that together, and one of my youngest, he ain't. You mentioned Malcolm at the end of the book. When he went to Mecca. One of my youngest ain't there yet. He still. I keep trying. I need the last part of Malcolm, so I'm working on him. But I can't wait for you to meet him and try to give him some game on that.
But that's a good place to be. Malcolm had to get there. Malcolm had to get there, so that's fine. Malcolm,
he's moving.
he paved the way. Yeah. But thank you for this opportunity to talk, and I thank you for the opportunity for this interview. And do what you can. We've talked for a long time here, and my mama's been in here with us. So I appreciate it. And like the Juneteenth, that you were there for the last one. You said. And that's the other thing. We can start things and not feel like we can't move on. So starting the Juneteenth and moving on for that, but making sure that you set a foundation for things. And that's what you're doing with your show. You're setting a foundation so that other young people, when they come along, they can say, Adam did it, Mr. Wells did it, I can do it. And I can, and setting that foundation is extremely important. So I appreciate you for that. I thank you for that. You hit me to another live stream here that I need to look into, because the Zoom thing was killing me, some stuff. I'm glad you brought up the security aspect. So I commend you too for what you're doing and living your dream. And that's what I tell Zion all the time. And I don't know if he's contacted you. I said, Adam's doing music because Zion does music. I said, you need to reach out to people who's already there. I support you in whatever you want to do. So, living that dream of doing your music and doing your own activism, because you're out there, you're an activist too. So I want to commend you for that also. So thank you for what you're doing in the community too, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you. So that was my interview with Felicia Jackson, Dr. Felicia Jackson, that is. Hopefully y'all saw that her story is amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's a story of personal growth and transformation. You know what I'm saying? It's a story of someone who's educated others, educated herself, educated others, who's out here and really going hard for the people. You know what I'm saying? Going hard for people in our hometown, Canton, Mississippi, but now extended that to a whole nother continent and a whole nother country and over there in Nigeria, and educating people over there. Being a risk taker, you know what I'm saying? Being willing to go see the world. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that want to just stay in their own comfort zone, but she doesn't mind trying new things and meeting new people and networking and just constantly building, constantly growing as a person. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully y'all enjoyed her story. As I said, it's an amazing story. She's a passionate person, a fascinating person. And I hope her story really inspires girls out there. Because I know most definitely I got some former students who were just like her. You know what I'm saying? Passionate, you know what I'm saying? Brilliant, uh, and that's in you. If you're listening to this right now, I want you to know that that's in you. You can be just like her. You know what I'm saying? You can be Dr. Whatever, or you can be an entrepreneur. You can travel the world. You know what I'm talking about? If God gave you the ability, you can do it as long as you put forth that work ethic. You understand? But I appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like the video, share it to as many people as possible. Follow me across all social media platforms. Shop with Statement Tees. And remember, everybody got a story. So listen. 1.
Go.
Subscribe to our daddy's YouTube channel. He's the best. Hit the like button, turn on the notifications.